Morgan Ladimore was a great and noble knight who fought in defence of the innocent, the poor, and the afflicted. For many years he worked diligently throughout the outlying areas of Azeroth, bringing relief to the suffering and swift justice to evildoers. Outlying areas of Azeroth. Either it's an interesting phrasing, or it's a callback to when Stormwind was called out Azeroth. He was married to a young girl named Lys, in the summer of his 18th year. They were much in love with each other and would eventually produce 3 children, a son and 2 daughters. Morgan was 32 when the war broke out in Lordaeron. Morgan was called to the side of the legendary paladin Uther the Lightbringer to fight against the orcs and the undead. Leaving his wife and children in the safety of his home, Morgan left for war. The years passed and the war dragged on. Morgan would witness many horrific events, including the disbanding of the Paladins of the Silver Hand, the death of Uther, and the spread of the plague. The only thing that kept him from the brink of madness was the knowledge that he would someday be reunited with his wife and children. Morgan would eventually return to his homeland, but find it nothing like how he remembered it. The once verdant forest was corrupted and teemed with the undead and other dark forces. Destroyed houses and farms could be found everywhere. The cemetery near Ravenhill now dominated much of the area. A shocked and bewildered Morgan eventually made his way to his home, only to find it in ruins. Not knowing what had befallen his homeland, he accidentally closed the history book. He headed towards the village to find answers, and he hoped his wife and children. Morgan inquired about his family, but could not find any answers. A priest in Darkshire, as it was now called, said that he might search the cemetery in Ravenhill for a gravestone. Morgan refused to believe that his family was dead, continued to search every farm and house in Duskwood, but to no avail. Morgan rode from Darkshire to nearby Lakeshire, thinking that perhaps his family had fled. On his way there, he decided against his better judgment to stop by the Ravenhill Cemetery. Morgan spent hours walking among the gravestones. He recognized many names of people that he knew. It's kind of strange he went to Lakeshire, which is up that way, and decided on his way to go far up that way, but ignored. He recognized many names of people that he knew, became more and more distraught. Among them, a small, untended plot amongst the many with 3 small gravestones. A feeling of dread washed over him as he approached. Morgan brushed off the dust of the most prominent gravestone to reveal the name on it. Simply carved upon the grave, letters spelled out his worst fear: Lys Ladimore, beloved wife and mother. Morgan's apprehension turned to dismay, then to grief, and he fell to his knees weeping. For hours he stared at that one grave, begging the cold stone for forgiveness and sobbing apologies. Then hours later, something in him snapped and began to lash out. He brought his sword out of its scabbard, began to rain blows in the gravestones, screaming in rage. Blinded in his fury, he lashed out and swung wildly, catching the notice of a trio of the cemetery attendants. As they tried to restrain him, he turned his focus to them, hurling accusations of guilt upon the innocent attendants, then killed them all. Later, when the rage passed, realization crept into Morgan's mind, and he saw his bloody sword driven into the chest of one of the attendants. Driven to the brink of it by his emotions, he removed his belt knife and plunged it into his heart. Morgan Ladimore's body and the 3 bodies of his victims were found the next day. He was quickly buried without ceremony in a hastily dug grave on the outskirts of the cemetery. Because Morgan committed murder against innocence, something that went completely against his beliefs and his nature, and because of the grief that he held, that he held in being unable to save his family, Morgan could not die a peaceful death, and lived on as one of the restless dead. Only days later, his grave was disturbed, and his body could not be found. That being that was Morgan now wandered Duskwood, consumed by his grief over the loss of his wife and children, and his own self-hatred. Moral Adam, as he now calls himself, roams Duskwood with mindless vengeance and hatred, and has been known to commit murder indiscriminately. That is quite a sad story, and it's a sad end to what was apparently a good man.
Well met.
Impressive, Kulgoroth. It would seem that you are capable enough to handle yourself. Perhaps a more suitable challenge could be found for one of your abilities. The Worgen infestation stretches further than Brightwood Grove. To the south, on the very edges of Darkshire itself, The rotting orchard is host to even more savage beasts. The Worgen there are more cunning, Kulgoroth, but just as savage and evil. Their enemies apart. They conjure foul shadows to tear their enemies apart from a distance. Go to the rotting orchard and slay the shadow weavers to keep the town safe. These have no quest for me as of yet. I do believe they'll get some for me eventually. And the commander there says, "Fear not. The Night Watch will rid the land of this foul taint soon enough." Figured I had a quest for him, but no, not yet. Also, I do have a completely forgot about the inn. Look to the stars. My gnomish friend Cog has promised to help me build a device which will let me peer towards the stars. According to Cog's blueprint, what I need first is a way to reflect light. Remember a woman by the name of Mary, who became well known around these parts for always carrying a looking glass. Perhaps we can track Mary down and see if she might lend us a reflective surface for this project. I believe she once resided in southern Duskwood. That's Blind Mary. She's just over here. We'll turn in all these quests, and we'll grab the well, we'll turn in these two over here, then we'll turn in this one before we move on, because I do believe we'll by turning in these we'll get some more for elsewhere. I think. I might be wrong.
Looking for something specific?
Not sure why he's standing over here, kind of half of the wall, but yeah. I love the end music. We're able to find 5 wolf skirt steaks yet. The skirt steak's the best part. It's not an efficient way to cook though. Here, have this recipe. It's a little different, but flank meat's easier to come by when you really need a meal. Hail, Kulgoroth. Did you get that lump of meat for me? Ah, yes. A nice lump you have there. Let me get this seasoned with my secret spices. No looking, and get them to skittering on a skillet for a while. And although dusky crab cakes are my specialty, and I won't give out the recipe, here's the recipe for a dish that's almost as good. You get gooey spider cakes.
For the Alliance.
And that's presumably another player. Yep. Stay in the roads. The forest is overrun with undead. Yeah, there's plenty of undead here. Though to be honest, I suppose the greater threats would be these southern ogres and the Worgen, as well as any other little beasties they have here. But yeah, the undead would also be an issue. Also over here, no, that's the Swamp of Sorrows. Here is Deadwind Pass, which is different. Oh, this is the old quests for Karazhan. I'm surprised you can still get them. Or at least according to this, you can still get them. Whether or not you can is a different matter. I figured they probably got removed. I think the NPC that was there before the apprentice is dead in Legion. But yeah. Here 2 Horde NPCs used to stand. I'm not sure what they were about, but they were here. Welcome, stranger. I'd offer you something, but there's not much here. Could I beg you to run some errands for a poor old hermit?
Safe travels. Good day to you.
Oh, what is a poor man to do? One sec. I need some supplies from Darkshire, but the village is so far away, and I'm so old and feeble. I will never make the trip. Can you go to Darkshire and bring me back some ghost hair thread? You can get it from Madame Eva at her home in Darkshire on the Darkshire Square.
See you around.
And if you swing over this way, you'll find a rare. Obviously, it's not always here, but frequently is. That's the path that leads up to him. Wait, is it further? Yes? Yes, it's up here. I thought it was further the other way, but no, it's up here typically. It's called the Forgotten Soldier. There's an old little forgotten tomb here. So, yeah. I guess it's that guy. Slice and dice. I remember that used to be a much earlier one, but they've kind of moved some abilities down in the list. And slice and dice used to work differently. They didn't increase attack speed or energy regen. It was like run through. I think it might have had the same things as run through. Death from Above, a finishing move that empowers your weapons with shadow energy and forms a devastating two-part attack. You roll around dealing up to 856 damage to all enemies within 8 yards, then leap into the air and run through your target on the way back down, with such force that it has a 50% stronger effect. Cool. So basically it also does this. And I would imagine run through would the Death from Above here will, like, say if you put 5 points into it, it will give you the 5-point effect of run through. You would hope so anyway. Actually, before we move out, let's turn in this quest. Madam Eva is just in here. I might call quits in a bit and get some food. Ghost hair tread is what you need, is it? I'm afraid I've none in stock, but I can make some for you, if you can provide the ghost hair. There's a poor sad spirit, Blind Mary, who haunts an old farmhouse in the hills south of Darkshire. Here, take the spectral comb and ask Blind Mary to comb her hair. Then bring the comb back and I'll glean from it the ghost hair I will need for the tread. And take care, for dark things now lurk near that house. Yeah, right by our house is a ton of undead. She's right by the cemetery. There's actually like a few cemeteries here. There's, well, the unknown grave back there, the forgotten grave back there, cemetery down here, and Raven Hill over here. Really do like Darkshire as a quest, as a zone, just because it's full of, you know, undead and whatnot, and it's, you know, dark and shit. Also, we are approaching another rare here. Let's see if I'm taking the right path to it.
I can't attack them. I can't attack that target.
There we go.
I can't carry anymore.
Oh god. Maybe that, I think that might be the where I'm thinking of, but there's a yeah, basically that's a there's this giant spider in the cave, and I think that's it. I think that's the cave.
You need something?
Okay, let's look. No, no, no. Yes. So. Grizzly gloves. No. So, I'm just wondering for then again. No, sell. I'm getting obsessive now. Like, I can't sell anything that I can't get again. You know, whatever the bogs. My inner hoarder is coming out. That's nothing anyone wants to see. And just to make sure it was properly said, I said inner hoarder, not my inner horror. That's under lock and key. Okay, let's sort. Okay. Alt. Sure, we'll send it to Kyrok. Oh, those are soulbound. Alright. Oh, I didn't sell that. Control click. Beautiful. Control click is such a handy little thing. By doing control clicking, you send off anything like that thing. So maximum of 10 to everything, but still. So like you can only send off 10 things at a time. So that limit is still in effect, but still it's bloody handy. Well, they certainly ate their veg. Send. Don't worry, I'll be sure to get all that off Kyrok before if I do delete him to if I do delete Kyrok to remake him, I will be sure to get all that off him first. I can't remember. Part of me wants to say that there's actually a thing in place to stop you from deleting characters if they have mail on them. Like in the mailbox. But I can't remember. But maybe not. Anyway. Just over here. I just wanted to check and see if I'm right. Because recollection's a bit wrong. I thought the cave was a little closer to town. Well, I was saying last time that I'm not sure how well WoW would translate to, like being like Rexer campaign, dungeons and all that. I still would love to see someone to give it a good shot, Just like the idea of it just sounds so cool to me. Like imagine going through Duskwood, in that kind of style. It's just so cool to me. I love it. I suppose I could go out and give it a shot, but I don't really actually have much experience with editors. And as a side point, like I was saying before, I'm not actually sure would the editors be capable enough of handling some of this. Actually, no, that'll be more relevant. Sorry, part of me was thinking again of some like raid bosses and whatnot. Part of me was wondering if the editors would be able to handle some of the mechanics within them. But that's a little like. While the raids would obviously be relevant, I might have lagged out here. While the raids are obviously relevant to the base game, are obviously relevant to it. You can kind of, part of me feels like you'd almost have to worry about them after you actually start getting the base stuff done. Okay, let's just alt tab and close it. Before you start worrying about doing a Kalfazad raid, you'd have to first worry about actually getting Stormheim done. So that kind of thing. Let's make sure you have vision. There. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking. But anyway, let me start again. But yeah, I suppose if no